We're back here on Enemies of the Fire, about to talk scabs and a few other things here. DPG, that Enrod story, you got that in your back pocket?
Yeah.
What's going on with the scabs?
All right, with the scabs. So a lot of these scab referees, they're from across the world. I think they got them from Spain. Most of them are from like the USL leagues. Like they pretty much went through the whole woodwork. I think.
Oh, so I mean, these guys aren't like, high school refs, rec league refs, gym school teachers.
They're not MLS seasoned, so to speak.
All right.
So that's basically the guys that are refereeing the match while we wait for this strike to be over. I'm hoping it's over soon. So far, I don't know about watching this Miami or also a late game. I don't know if the quality. Yeah, I saw that too.
Yep.
I don't think the quality has dropped in terms of refereeing. I mean, then again, there's not really a high bar for referees.
That's my guy.
So there you go. So I mean, I don't know.
I didn't start him though. He's a sub.
Later.
He's on my sub. He's a sub on my bench.
So what you're talking about, DPG, is these are not just your average like Joe Schmo off the street. But honestly, man, this kind of like,
it's not like the movie The Replacements.
Yeah.
I know this is gonna take me
every time.
No, go ahead. I was gonna say this is gonna take me a second to get to, but I'll make this as short and sweet as possible.
I mean,
I feel like I'm always hard to take a hard stance. Like I'm done with MLS forever because like I can't really get into overseas soccer like that. Like I watch teams when they have Americans on them. Like last year I watched Leeds. This year I watch AC Milan. You know what I mean? Like I can't find a connection with those teams. And so it doesn't matter how bad Chicago sucks. I'm going to be into Chicago, So like the thing that was almost,
there's another Chicago team and it's not an MLS, and they have Robert Lewandowski.
Well, that would be a whole nother conversation. But what I was getting at is
agree on that. I'm with you on that one, and
I'll talk about that more because I want to hear the story about Enrod. But I got something to talk about with Robert Lewandowski here in a little bit.
We're going to hit Robert Lewandowski.
Keep that in your front pocket.
But I wanted to say this: the moment I was almost done with Major League Soccer, the moment I really almost was done, was when the players in Major League Soccer before 2020 finally came to a decision on the CBA. And then because of the pandemic and the fact that like they just played, they were like, oh, it's all good. We'll just ratify this next chance we get. Who cares, right? We've all agreed on this. And Major League Soccer pulled the rug out from under players and went back on a lot of things that they were going to do.
Yes,
and really slowed things down. And that was disgusting. So the thing with the referees, I'm kind of just pissed that they didn't just make it go away instantly. You know what I mean? Like, just make it right. Just stop being in the way and being a pain in the ass.
I mean, I got a couple of other instances. Vegas had to deal with this with all of their cooks recently, just before the Super Bowl. All the dining industries went on strike, but they all came to deals with various hotels. And then there's another place that has been doing this. The NFL. The NFL has billions of dollars. Billions. Yep. And what is their number one issue right now besides the issue with sports betting and potential corruption? It also has to do with the referees, to avoid them getting sued for corruption. And they have billions of dollars. And literally, I listen to Mike Florio. He's a lawyer, former lawyer, and football analyst. And he talks about like NFL is opening the door for themselves to get sued for corruption because the referees are just blowing these games in visible ways that the crowd is seeing. And if you see that here in MLS, where, these guys are trying to compete with EPL, they're trying to compete with La Liga, they're trying to compete with the biggest and the best of the world, Liga MX, here domestically. You need to be getting the calls right. The one thing MLS has gotten right so far, VAR. They have gotten VAR right in many ways where other leagues have. Yeah, they have in many ways. Yep. So I'll give them kudos for that. But this referee stuff, they got it. They got to nip it in the bud. They got to nip it in the bud.
You got to fix that, because if there's not an issue tonight with Messi, there's gonna be an issue this weekend, and you know what? It's gonna be the biggest talking point of the week.
What
And it's
happens
not
if
just, like,
Messi
you think
gets
about-
fouled hard and gets because they didn't properly card somebody earlier?
Yeah, because you lose control of the game.
Yeah, and the thing too is, you can't say it's a money thing when you're charging expansion teams almost $500 million just to join the league, on top of the other fees. Not to mention the Apple TV deal that they just signed last year. So it can't be a money thing. God knows how many Messi jerseys have sold.
Messi just missed a crazy goal.
Unbelievable amount of Messi jerseys, I'm sure.
So yeah, so you're not gonna tell me, wow, we can't give the refs 25%, or you can't say we can't give the refs more business class. What's the point of having airline sponsorships? What's
right? Exactly. What's the point? Why degrade your product to a point where it's worse because you're not willing to pay for the best? It just goes hand in hand with their sandbagging. But
they got to get this right, and they're not. And MLS is definitely fucking up this, because they stand upon a house of cards at the moment. Because if US Federation opens the door for D1 status and another league, what does Lexi Laws call it? Another mousetrap, he calls it. Another mousetrap comes along.
Of course he will. Of course he will.
And another mousetrap comes along, and all of a sudden they have a team they have 8 teams, and one of them's in Chicago, and it's got Lewandowski. I mean, like, and it's got connected to USL, and it's got promotion relegation, and Detroit FC can get its way. Like, there's a way somebody can come out there with a competing product to MLS, and all those valuations that you were just talking about all crumble. The MLS deal with the Apple TV crumbles because they could back out of it at any time. And so, I mean, like, what if Messi leaves next season? What happens when Messi leaves next season? Who are they going to bring in to maintain the Apple cart and keep it from spilling? MLS
there's not a single human big enough to do that. That's why you need to really open up the rosters to have a collection of really good players.
Yep.
All right. So hold on. Before we go to break,
we got a couple minutes. Story.
We got to hear DPG's story about Nelson Rodriguez. Because part of me feels like he's going to end up telling me that he's behind this referee shit too.
I bet. Let's connect the dots.
So back a couple of years ago, I want to say this was 2015, 2016, when they had just finished building the fire pitch. They invited me, to the grand opening event. It was like only a selective few season ticket holders, or club season ticket holders, I think, and supporter group members. And I remember that it was a cool, it was a cool party. Voko Panovich was making rounds. A couple of former Fire players were making the rounds, talking to everybody. And then Nelson comes up. So Nelson, being Nelson, I guess the floor wasn't good enough. He pulls a chair and stands on the chair to give a speech in the fire pitch. Everybody. So, like, straight up, he just literally pulled up a chair, stood up. Not even Andy Hoffman did this. He pulls up a chair, he stands up, and he gives this whole rousing speech like it's fucking Braveheart. Like
freedom!
Talking about tradition, passion, honor, going, saying how this is a successful club, blah, blah, blah. Like, he was literally trying to light a fire in someone's ass, because I think even my brother was, like, inspired by it. He's like, wow, that was, that's really good.
He was a great orator?
He was a great orator right before he decided to derail this club. So...
We have, oh my God, we have been down that road so many times. It's shocking. So did you get to actually talk to Nelson, shake hands, and be like, what's up?
I think I did. I mean, he struck me as, I guess at the moment, an okay guy. I guess just trying to be friendly with everybody.
He's a human being.
He was just being a human
Are you
being.
sure about that?
Or is
You
he
know,
a
but
robot?
the thing is, I probably would have been a little more receptive had I known his plans in the long term. Like, what were his plans for this club? Um, because the person that I saw was a guy that really cared, but what we got in the end was a guy that really wants to take everything down and turns into like the next Chivas USA.
He's taking he's taking MLS down too. I mean, taking him
Yeah.
out. Is he responsible for this U.S. Open Cup decision, or at least somewhat behind it?
Yeah, he's like the spearhead of this U.S. Open Cup decision. He just again, it's like I tell you, we as MLS fans complain so hard about needing to embrace what soccer truly is, but the problem is the money guys everywhere where we think it's pure and beautiful are looking for every way imaginable to get what we have here. And that's brutal.
Speaking of
Yeah.
brutal, how about a commercial break? We'll be right back. Thanks for joining us here on Enemies of Fire. We'll see you right after.
Yes.
I'm going to talk to you about a little bit more about Lewandowski. We're going to talk about Ezra Hendrickson. We got to talk about Shaqiri. We got a lot more on the platter. Be right back here on Enemies of Fire.